Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the University of Rochester Strong Center for Developmental Disabilities webinar about hiring a diverse workforce, including people with disabilities. October is National Disability Employment Awareness Month, where we recognize the contributions of people with disabilities make in the workforce. And this year's theme focuses on disability being a part of the diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. We have business and industry leaders here with us today to talk about their experiences in hiring people with disabilities and developmental disabilities like autism and Down syndrome. My name is Marilee Boylan, and I'm the Director of Employment Programs for the Strong Center for Developmental Disabilities, and will be your panel moderator for today. We'll have moderator questions first for the first part of the discussion, and then later move to audience questions. So please feel free to type in your questions. We have such a brief time today, we might not get to all of the questions, but we'll be following up with you after the webinar as well to see if you want to continue the conversation further. So let me first introduce our panelists. We have Christine Van Vessem. She's the Vice President of Staff Development and Quality Management at Jewish Senior Life, which is a nonprofit continuing care retirement community. And Christine serves as the business liaison for Project Search and partners with a team from Heritage Christian Services to provide 10-month internships for young adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Christine works closely with department directors and their staff to create supportive on-the-job learning environments for interns to learn the skills needed to gain meaningful employment. And a recent award winner from some of the National Disability Awareness Month events. So thank you, Christine, for joining us today. If you want to give everybody a wave.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Frank Falatin, he's the president of Fala Technology. Frank leads Fala's contract manufacturing and supply chain services work for the semiconductor, transportation, military, advanced energy, and industrial product sectors. Frank serves on numerous educational advisory committees, workforce and industrial boards, and is Director Emeritus and Workforce Committee Chair of the Hudson Valley's Manufacturing Council of Industry. Frank's current industry of workforce development mission is the building of a pre-apprenticeship program called STEPS. It is to create the industry's next generation of skilled technicians and master craftsmen. Thank you so much, Frank, for joining us today. Dr. Rose Nichols. Rose Nichols is the Director of Human Resources at the City of Rochester. She has extensive experience as an administrator, program manager, and consultant. In her current role, she aims to be a change agent and business partner who initiates progressive operational efficiencies. Her extensive background includes development of personnel policies and service in the areas of diversity, inclusion, equity, safety, and workforce development. Rose is also the business liaison for Project Search at the City of Rochester. Thank you very much for joining us today, Rose. Jennifer Geiger is the business relations representative at the Rochester Access VR District Office. If you don't know about Access VR, they're probably the best kept secret, but they shouldn't be a secret. And she works to connect people with disabilities, and Access works to connect people with disabilities to employment and educational opportunities. Jen provides businesses with a talent pool of employees you may not have access before, and she's a certified ADA trainer offering free training on disability awareness and etiquette to business.
Good morning, everyone.
Last but not least is Martha Ponji. She met the president yesterday in Syracuse. Fantastic. And some of the work she's working on. So she's the director of national apprenticeships for the National Institute of Innovation and Technology. She's an integral part of the Institute's team that supports programs related to the development of the nation's workforce for strategic industry sectors. She leads the development and execution of NIIT's apprenticeship programs and supports the growth of apprenticeships in nanotechnology and semiconductors program, as well as other activities to expand registered apprenticeships across the U.S. We thank you all, the panel, very much in joining us today and sharing your experience and expertise. Speaking with you in previous discussions, I was really inspired by your experiences, and I'm excited for you to share with everybody today. Let's move on to the first question. And audience, please remember to type in your questions as we go, and we will get to them in a little bit. But first, if you can tell us about your experience in hiring a diverse workforce, including people with disabilities. Frank, can we start with you?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So we are a manufacturing company, 76 years old, and we have a lot of master craftsmen and high-skilled technicians working here, and we've never really looked at the disability community as an employment source. And then I was at a conference at a community at a SUNY 4-year college engineering program. I was judging it, and I met a young man who was very scared at this event and would not talk. And I asked him if he wanted to come to my company and interview for a job. And to make a long story short, he had a developmental disability, and we did offer him a position, but I didn't know how to train him. And so I was fortunate enough that I received an invitation about 2 weeks later from a organization called PDWCC, which is the New York State Disability Agency. I learned about Access VR. They're on this call today. And to make a long story short, they helped us train our staff, hire him. We have since put him in an apprenticeship program, which he's graduated, and he's now one of our certified New York State quality control auditors. And based upon that and meeting the disability agencies that are in New York State, we're now working to actually bring more individuals into manufacturing. And we actually have put together, with the help of the federal government and the disability agencies in New York State, to build a new program that will help train people to get into apprenticeships. And that's the key for what we're trying to scale up for. So it's not just, and they're working with peers that are not disabled. And it was very important that we try to find these types of individuals. So it's been a great success story. And now we actually have, I would say, half the people that we hire have some sort of disability right now.
Thank you very much, Frank. It sounds like it's really important for your hiring pool that you're trying to create and a pipeline that you're trying to create for manufacturing.
Mm-hmm.
Christine, can you talk about your experience in hiring a diverse workforce?
Sure, yeah. So as you mentioned, Marilee, we are a project search site partnering with Heritage Christian Services. And I know that you put the project search link on the chat for everyone to get to know. And I know Dr. Nichols is going to be talking a little bit about her experience with project search. But about 5 or 6 years ago, our CEO, who has a special needs son, learned a little bit more about this project search program, which is a program designed to give job skills, employment skills to individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. There's 2 types of programs, one at the high school level, and then there's also an adult program. And here at Jewish Senior Life, we are a business site for the adult program, helping those individuals who have completed high school transition to gain some skills needed to have meaningful employment. So we are in our 5th year. We had started our 5th cohort, and it's a program whereby through classroom instruction and then internship, 10-week internship rotations, these individuals gain experience on the soft skills and the hard skills needed. And here at Jewish Senior Life, we have, as a continuing care retirement community, we just have a number of different opportunities. Not just, people think of Jewish home, which is our legacy, being primarily nursing, but we have all the other departments, including, dining services, housekeeping, of course, therapy services. There's just a plethora of maintenance facilities. So we have a lot of opportunity to engage these interns who join our program with different experiences and giving them different types, hopefully that will fit their interest. So we have had about 32 interns over the last 5 years. We average about 8 interns per year. It's a 10-month program, so they're with us on campus for 10 months. And we've had 32 interns, and we've hired 15, I'm proud to say, not in a variety of different positions here at Jewish Senior Life. So it's filled some needs we've had, and also obviously provided these individuals with meaningful employment.
Can you talk about one person specifically, to give us a little bit of story of what that looks like?
Yep. Most recently in our last class that just finished in June, we had an intern who is visually impaired, blind, and that was our first intern who was blind, and we hired him into one of our, we actually modified the job description. We have a position called the hospitality assistant that supports our nursing staff with some simple tasks in preparing, doing laundry, some housekeeping tasks, engaging with the residents. So we actually modified our hospitality assistant to a junior hospitality assistant, creating this opportunity for this intern to join and hire him because he had exactly the skills we needed. He loved engaging with the residents. He was happy to do the duties of housekeeping, light laundry, and it was just a win-win. So we hired him in September, and he's doing a great job.
So it sounds like a huge value add for your company.
It really is. It really is. It's been really meaningful. So for our staff, and I can talk more about that probably later as we get through some of the questions, but our staff have really embraced this program and served as mentors, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, I'm sure, but I don't want to take up all the conversation.
Thanks, Christine. And Rose, can you tell us a little bit about some of the folks you hired? I know you had a fairly recent hire too with the city of Rochester.
Sure. So good morning, everyone. So we too have a project search program, and our program is in collaboration with the Rochester City School District and Access VR and some other entities in the community. And we work with those who are in their last year of high school, and the city's role is to find internship opportunities throughout the various departments in the city of Rochester. So we've had interns that have done internships in the Department of Environmental Services, in the library, in human resources, where I work, and across the 14 departments in the city of Rochester. And they do 10 weeks at a time. So they rotate, and they have 3 different, very unique opportunities to gain, as Christine said, soft skills as well as hard skills, so that they can become, our goal is that we would be able to employ them at the city of Rochester. So we've been doing that program for about 12 years now. I think this will be our 12th year. And we're hoping that we'll get more students. When we first started, we had approximately 11 students. It's declined a little bit, so we'll have anywhere from 4 to 7 students a year, but they get very good mentoring from the staff. They have a job coach that comes with them when they first start their each 10-week session, and that job coach works with them to learn the role and responsibilities that they have. It's been a great experience. I'll tell you a couple real quick stories from the last class. We did have one of them. There were 4 that finished last summer, June, and we have a graduation celebration for them. And one of them has been for 4 months working part-time in the Central Library as a library page. So they're working with patrons that come to the library, locating books and lending materials for them. They're making sure all of the materials are available and in the right place. They're searching for things that a patron may not be able to find, doing a lot of different roles and responsibilities with the library. Another student that we had ended up working for Women's, but during his time with us interning in HR for his last 10-week period, his heart's desire was to meet the mayor. So we made sure that we got him on the mayor's calendar, and the mayor sat down with him for a good 30 or 40 minutes in his conference room and talked to him about whatever he wanted to talk about. And when he walked out that room, he was flying. So they don't always necessarily end up working for us, but through this experience, they are able to also go to other places like, for instance, Wegmans. So so that's what we do. That's our most significant, and we really love our Project Search program. Like I said, we've been doing it for 12 years. As far as what else we do in our human resources, we are right now strategizing on more effective ways to recruit, hire, and retain people with disabilities. So, but the first thing we need to do is we need to educate our own workforce about the effectiveness and put in their mindset to recruit and hire. We also have our we have a whole policy on 55, section 55A of the New York State Civil Service Law that allows us to designate certain entry-level positions, particularly for people who are eligible through or qualified due to a physical or mental disability. So we'd like to see that built up a bit more. So that's what we do at the City of Rochester. And again, it's been a great experience, and we want to incorporate it throughout our hiring and recruitment processes.
Listening to all your answers on that question, I like that there are lots of diverse types of jobs that people are being offered. You know, I think people tend to think about cleaning jobs, but, you know, I'm hearing library page, I'm hearing manufacturing. I mean, there's all different roles that people with disabilities and developmental disabilities can play in the work environment. It just depends on the person and what their interest areas and what their skills are, like everybody else. I wanted to move to question number 2, and Rose already started us down this path, but how did you help your staff to better include people that you hired who happen to have a disability? Somebody like to grab that first? Jen?
Okay, so again, good. I think we're still on morning, right? So Jen Geiger from Access VR. So I would say, you know, again, we really want to educate businesses about the talent pool that specifically at Access VR, you know, we are assisting people with a variety of different employment goals. You know, not everyone that has a disability has a desire to work in a specific industry or with a specific employer. So really, you know, it's educating, you know, the business sectors and industry on, you know, our qualified talent pool. Just for some, you know, numbers, our Rochester district office at Access VR, right now, we have over 3,100 people in our talent pool. So statewide, you know, I looked at the numbers, and so we do have 15 district offices across the state. So I know there's people probably from, you know, north, south, east, west from the state attending, you know, today's workshop. So we do have 15 district offices across the state. And right now we have about 40,000 people that we are working with. So it's a large number. You know, we are working with youth and adults. So again, it's really educating, you know, businesses about our talent pool, you know, different success stories, sharing, you know, again, not everyone wants to, you know, be a baker. Not everyone that we're supporting is in entry-level jobs. This past spring, we actually successfully helped a young woman. She came to Access VR as a youth, and ultimately she became a veterinarian. And so I love, you know, sharing, you know, that story, because again, it highlights our skill level. So again, there are individuals that based on skill and ability may be working in an entry-level position, but we're also helping people with very skilled work. You know, we've even had HR professionals who've acquired a disability come to Access VR and needing assistance. So again, our talent pool is wide, and for those that I know, Mary Lee, you always say, okay, sometimes Access VR is a kept secret. You know, we don't want it to be a kept secret. And so please, you know, I encourage people to reach out to us. That way we can educate, you know, staff. I can actually come to a business and, you know, provide disability awareness, etiquette training, or, you know, just be a resource, because many managers, they never took a disability class, right? And so they may not be knowledgeable, and that's okay. There's great resources, in every community. And again, I know I'll put my contact information in the chat, but people can reach out to me. And again, we want to be that resource to businesses and individuals with disabilities.
I also put in chat a link to Access VR's information. Thank you for that information, Jen.
Marilee, I can add a little bit to a
Please.
couple of examples. So certainly our partnership with Heritage, JSL leans on them to identify and help us out with our interns. And then as we employ the individuals, 2 examples. So for the person I mentioned who is blind and joined our organization in September as a junior hospitality assistant, Heritage hooked us up with the New York State Commission for the Blind, providing us those resources to help him onboard in his position. They actually helped us throughout his internship as well, but stayed on with us, continuing to work with myself and team members to help him navigate in different tasks that he has to do, give us working through the different problem solving through the different things using technology to help him complete the tasks in the way that we need him to. Another example is our first class. We had an intern who was nonverbal. He completed the program, and we hired him as well. And we had Heritage bring in a speech pathologist to help our staff members communicate effectively with him. So those are just 2 examples of ways that, taking advantage of the resources in the community, bring the subject matter experts to your business to help you navigate some of that.
Frank, did you want to add to this one?
Yeah, when you for Fala Technologies, what we found is that there's so many individuals that have a disability, and as we have learned over the last 3 years of bringing individuals with disabilities into the manufacturing environment, that there's a broad spectrum. And we didn't know that when we first started. So one of the keys that Access VR absolutely helped us was they assigned a contract agency to come in and train my people. And we now have individuals that are working at apprenticeship level, which is college level. And when they came to us, they were not prepared at all to be able to do that. So there's a very broad spectrum of individuals that we are finding, and I could speak for hours about it because it's something that's been really culturally changing of my corporation, that we now bring individuals of all different types and that we've never looked at before for hiring. And because of the real shortage of workforce nationally in all different industry sectors, industry does not, at least in the manufacturing industries, this is a new field of hiring, and it's a challenge to start, but once you've done it and our staff understand it, it's now they don't even blink an eye when I bring individuals in that have some type of impediment. We've had someone who's deaf that we recently hired after going through a work experience that was supported by Access VR. As I said, we found this one individual who is in a 4-year engineering degree that has a severe developmental disability. And he now, I said before, he doesn't talk, and now he talks to everybody. And in fact, he is he's our shining example of an individual who has the ability cognitively, but not the physical ability to do work in a manufacturing environment. And then we have probably on our floor right now, there's at least 4 or 5 individuals that have not declared as having a disability, but they're our master craftsmen. And we've had these people working for us for 20, 30 years. And we used to always say they're hard to manage. Many times we want to fire them because they cause trouble sometimes. And we used to use the word quirky. There's just something about them that makes them incredibly good master craftsmen and focus on their work, but they also have other social issues. And now that we've been working with the disability community for 3 years now, we realize that we want to hire as many of these people as we can, because we've been better sensitized, but also accommodate individuals that need sometimes a special circumstance that you typically wouldn't think that was needed. And so this has been a very good success story for us. And we have other manufacturers now in the Hudson Valley that are hiring these same people. So it is replicable. It surely is.
And Frank, that's a great point to kind of like segue in, is that, you know, we have businesses that reach out, you know, at Access VR, we have our whole business relations team that I'm on, and, you know, businesses will connect with us specifically because they do, you know, see the value that people with disabilities bring to the workforce. You know, again, sort of that relationship, you know, Frank, I know you are kudos to, you know, everything that you and your team do, and have, you know, really become engaged, right, with different resources, and even to maybe shift the workplace culture, right, to really see that, you know, yes, you know, some individuals may have some different barriers, but look at the huge asset they bring to, you know, our company. And so again, I think it's making those partnerships and relationships. And so that way those businesses really do see the value, and, you know, they'll reach out specifically, I know, to Access VR to say, can you send us, you know, 5 more people just like Johnny, right? And so it's those great success stories, and again, the value that people with disabilities bring to, you know, all businesses and all jobs as well.
And when we're talking about hiring individuals, we're not talking about menial jobs like sweeping floors or doing simple basic tasks. To be an apprentice, and Martha Ponji, who's on our call here today, she leads the New York State's apprenticeship program for all manufacturers, and there's 7 manufacturing associations throughout New York State. And these programs for apprenticeships are either 2 to 4 year specified programs that New York State requires us to do training, which includes a lot of college training also. And the individuals with disabilities have certain advantages. And one that we're finding is they always show up on time when it comes to work. They also are great at focusing on very difficult projects that we have, because we build equipment, and for the semiconductor industry, it's all prototype work. There's no production work here. Every day is something different. And most of the students that don't have disabilities in general coming out of high school today don't really have that ability to focus on a specific task for long periods of time. And so if Martha wants to just explain a little bit about apprenticeship programs to give you a sense that these are the future jobs for our technicians. These jobs are not going away as industry automates our simpler tasks. We're going to need technicians and apprentices to go into high-skilled jobs.
Thank you, Frank. So if an individual wants to go into a registered apprenticeship, there are 5 hallmarks that must be utilized by a company in order to have a program. One of those is that all of our apprentices are hires. They are people that have jobs. They're not trying out the job. They're not there for an internship. This is a job that you've been hired to do. Number 1 on the list is that there has to be a structured training program that goes along with it. Generally, there are 2,000 hours of training that go into every year of a registered apprenticeship. So that means that when you're at work, you have a master craftsman who is teaching you how to do not only a specific job for today, but at a business like Frank's to build a foundation so the job you do tomorrow, which is more complex, you have the skill set to do that, the competencies to do that. There's always related technical instruction that that goes along with on-the-job training. And that related technical instruction, like Frank said, it could be at a community college. It also could be with a private tutor. It also could be in classes that take place at vocational and technical schools. It really aligns with the business's needs and the ability of the student. the really valuable piece of apprenticeship that I think is lost on a lot of individuals is it was created to take any individual from where they are to where they need to be. And it doesn't mean that we're going to do it at a lower competency level, but it means that we can accommodate any challenges that an individual might have and support them in their ability to get up to the competency level required to do a job. And as we learn more, we earn more. And I think that's the other piece that a lot of individuals, especially in the manufacturing and high-tech skills, don't understand, is that these are high-paying jobs. Yes, most people come in at an entry level, but they're jobs that have negotiated wage increases. So you know that you're going to get $1 an hour more next year or $2 an hour based on milestones. I've learned a little more, I've gone to class, and now they're going to pay me more because I'm more valuable to a company. And I think there are a lot of people in this world who are looking for an investment, but especially people with disabilities. I think when they see that people are investing in them and want them to be part of their community, we will attract and retain more and more individuals with disabilities in these high-tech jobs.
Well, talking to you both, Martha and Frank, it sounds like the industry, especially the green industry, you know, this is just going to be more and more where there's going to be opportunities.
Absolutely.
Areas where they're going to need not only to fill the jobs that we have, but we also have new jobs coming online for our foundation for the future. So this will be an essential field to tap into.
There are projected to be almost 2 million technical positions that are unfilled by the year 2030. We have to start attracting from different talent pools, and people like Frank have shown other employers that this is a valuable talent pool to be looking in, and that it is replicable, and that the investment that you put in is returned to you more than twofold in what happens within the walls of your company, the difference in the culture change and what these individuals bring to the table.
Well, I think another piece is on the individual side and looking for careers.
Yeah,
there's lots of different paths, and there is college education and there's apprenticeship in more technical fields, and they're both very valuable and great fields to get into. And sometimes I'm not sure that people know that the more technical fields are out there and they're available jobs that are fantastic jobs, and they're highly paid positions as well.
Yeah, and that's where, you know, even in terms of some of the services that we provide at Access VR is even doing that, you know, vocational guidance and planning, right? And even helping youth and adults maybe explore different careers that they may never have been exposed to. You know, and so I know, especially, you know, when we look at youth, right, sometimes they only know those few jobs that people close to them, you know, have, and they don't always know what else is available. And I know in our region specifically, there's Finger Lakes Works with Your Hands event. Glow also has a Glow with Your Hands event, and Rochester had a Rock with Your Hands event in October. So really exposing people to different industries. And, you know, like Martha was talking about too, is that there's different, you know, pathways. And so sometimes, you know, someone may dabble in or start off and do like a pre-apprenticeship program. And so there's different, you know, career opportunities and like stepping stones. So it's not that, you know, you have to all of a sudden, you know, commit to be an apprentice, you know, tomorrow. It may be, you know, let's, you know, start off at step 1 and then you build on that, and step 2. And so you have those, you know, successes. And sometimes, you know, the path might go right, might go left, and that's okay. Because as, you know, each person is on their own path, there are different supports available. And again, really providing those pipelines to the business community, because you know, there are so many people that are interested in different fields, and, you know, why not tap into other talent pools that, are really at your fingertips. But again, it's, making those connections. And just a kind of a quick side note, as Martha, you were talking, and I know this was not, a planned script, but just yesterday, one of the supervisors at our Rochester office informed me that we have had 2 individuals hired in the electrical union. So again, just kind of, highlighting, different sectors and industries. Again, things are evolving, with technology, yes, the green sector. And Martha and I, we attended the NIATEP conference a couple weeks ago, and just even learning how industries are evolving and where are those hot jobs and where are different trends. So that way we can, educate people and provide training. At Access VR, we do assist with training. So that way people get the skills, or do people need to be upskilled, as markets are changing? We need to stay with the times and, and where regional data is going to. So we always want to make sure that the individuals we're working with, do have those skills that are marketable for the business needs.
I'm going to pause here just for 1 second, just to let the audience know that the chat function is disabled on purpose. But if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A, and then we will get to them towards the end of the session. So please go ahead and put your questions in Q&A, or if you need to ask me something, please, you can use the Q&A to ask me something as well. I have a question to ask, and I think sometimes businesses think that maybe accommodations can be expensive. Can you folks who have experience in hiring, can you talk about some of the accommodations that you've used and if they're expensive or not?
Well, in my case, when we talk about accommodations, you don't start there. We start with our staff. Our staff were totally untrained, and I won't say the word trained, that's probably not, just didn't understand how to work with individual with disabilities. So we didn't spend a dime other than having them work with Access VR, and they sent in some trainers, and we've had different trainers, one that works with the blind, one that works with deaf people, and one also that works with developmental disabilities. And all these are different situations where individuals had these disabilities, and they came in consistently helping us understand what accommodations need to be made. And our first one, which was the one that started this entire pathway that we're now going down, he wouldn't speak at the time, and we put him in a very secure area that wasn't out in the factory floor to start with, thinking that that would be a place to get him acclimated to a totally different environment than what he's been used to in the past. And all we had to do is really set up a work cell for him that we would do for any employee. So there really wasn't any real accommodation. It just made sense that this would be the place to have him start. Now that he talks and he walks out, he works with all our staff out because his job is to go out in the factory floor and work with our technicians and master craftsmen to inspect to make sure that what they're making meets customer specifications. And he works with everybody now. And we never thought that would be possible. So there wasn't really any accommodations for those. And we're in a very, it's not dangerous, but you have to pay attention because you have equipment around that can hurt you. And we're making very high precision mechanical electrical devices that go into advanced technologies, including semiconductor. And there's no room for error. And these folks that we are now hiring and training to go into apprenticeship programs, getting them prepared for that, there's no accommodation being made. They are working exactly the same as what our all staff are. So it didn't really cost us anything to bring these people in, other than changing the mindset of our folks, and that's been so rewarding, because now they are so accepting of anyone coming in, of all different types of capabilities, and seeing what they can do. Not everyone can succeed here, but if you start with us and you're not gonna progress the way we need, they'll be pre-trained to go to other companies that would just love to have them do more production and repetitive type of work, which is not what we do here. So we really haven't had any accommodations to spend at all, to tell you the truth.
I'll add to that. I completely agree with Frank. Our experience has been very similar. But I'll add that, the resources out there, again, working with the New York State for the Commission for the Blind, they are providing the resources we need to help the individual we hired with those accommodations. And so, it's not something that the business needs to take on solely, but that you just need to tap into the right resources and reach out. Certainly, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, technology, using the tools, simple iPads. I mean, the advanced technology these days to more effectively communicate, create the checklists that maybe the individual needs to complete the tasks and modifications are not costly at all. So completely agree with everything Frank said, and just make sure that you reach out before you start going and buying things, because typically there's opportunity to work with partners who have the resources for you.
Sounds like
Right, and that's, a great point, because, of course, I always have to throw in data, right? As a ADA coordinator, is that, more than 60% or about 60% of accommodations cost nothing. So just like Frank and Christine indicated, that is, truth, right? So I love that both of you are, indicating it's not just a, number that's thrown out there. It really is real that, there are resources, a lot of accommodations, we're already using that may already be implemented in a workplace, but it's not necessarily, defined or labeled as such. You just think of when the world switched, to remote work. I mean, that's an accommodation. And so many businesses have already been doing an accommodation, but maybe might not be viewing it in that specific lens. I always sort of advocate for universal design, right? I know, Frank, you talked about, we just do this for everybody, right? It's just our workplace culture that everyone has a mat to stand on. There's things that you can do as preventative or things that you do for, all your employees. So it's not always has to be, disability specific, with how Christine talked about, the iPad. I mean, we all have, our smartphones that do, different things, text to speech. We all sort of adapt to things differently in our own work tasks, whether we're using color Post-it notes and highlighters to, an ergonomic chair. So again, the world of accommodations and assistive technology is huge, and it's always great to, tap into resources because, in terms of Access VR and the New York State Commission for the Blind, specifically, we want to work with businesses to provide those resources. And there's also tax credits that can be available to a business. So there's always, those additional conversations we can have, following today's presentation.
I have one other thing to add. One of the things that we talk about with apprenticeship is that apprentices always have a mentor, someone that helps to guide them through the process of learning and make sure that they are understanding, all the things that they need to do, but also all the things that will help them do those jobs better. And I think in a lot of ways, we're acting as those mentors to one another, because Frank and I bring to the disabilities community the information and the relationships with companies that want to be part of the disabilities community. But all of you who are on the panel, you're our mentors. You help bring us that information. And I think Frank and I have had these conversations since the very beginning when we started doing this work together. And we don't know what we don't know. And so we are always looking for, ways that we can help the individuals that we're trying to work with. So everything that you share with us today is so valuable in the conversation is where, we get the clarity of what's going on really on both sides of the fence in the businesses and in the VR community. So thank you all.
I'll tell you what we don't know. And I've been working in this now for, actually it's been more than 3 years, because William, when he came to us, it was about 5 years ago, is business cannot navigate all the agencies in the disability industries in New York State. It's just way too complicated, so when manufacturers or business, not even manufacturers, as Martha knows, we are being asked by New York State to branch beyond manufacturing to green jobs, which might be technicians installing solar panels or doing, charging stations for electric cars. So there's a lot of technicians that need to be trained. And what we're finding is that when you find these individuals, most companies will not know how to start down a pathway with these people, get their staff trained, and then also get these individuals into the right positions that we have at all these technical jobs that are just dying for people that want to learn and work, with us. And so that's one of the things I've learned is I've built a very strong partnership with many different disability agencies because they all have different abilities to support people in different ways. So, and I know that probably most people on this call might be from an agency of one sort or another. We understand that you don't understand manufacturing, and because nobody does. I mean, we talk to teachers all day long and they don't know what manufacturing really is today. It's the same thing on our end. We don't really understand what you guys can provide or what some can, and then there's other ones you can't, and there's different programs. So that's what we're trying to all work out, and that's what Martha and I are reaching out to. And we've been working on this now at the state level for a few years now, is trying to figure out how we all make this network work. And then over time also be change agents. There's an educational system that's feeding us individuals that have disabilities that aren't prepared to go to work. Okay, so we have got to try to start making those changes before they even transition from an educational program into a workplace program. And that's going to be something that we're starting to work on, because it has to be solved if we're going to solve our technician problem, which is thousands and thousands of technicians have to be created in the next 5 to 10 years to do all this green energy work that's going to help us fix global warming or make us energy independent. We just don't have the staff to do that right now. Nobody does in this country. So you have a talent pool that we need to learn how to pull from, and we will help you understand what we need to have being brought to us so that we can then skill them up using apprenticeship programs. That's going to solve, that's a solution for this, for our next generation of skilled workforce.
And I will be reaching out to each of you by email because you registered, and I'll see if you want to continue engaging in this conversation, or if I can help link you to agencies or to Frank or some of the panelists here so that you can have a deeper conversation about how and asking specific questions. So I do want to ask you all, what kind of benefits did you see for your company when you hired somebody who had a disability? Rose?
Go ahead.
I had to unmic myself. Okay. So I think what was important for us at the city was it reduces turnover. We found even with, Project Search and the interns we have been able to hire, even on a part-time basis after they finish the program, they are dedicated.
Yeah.
They are dedicated. I also think that another benefit or that's important is they come with a lot of different knowledge, skills, and abilities, right? Just like every other individual has. And so it's looking at their knowledge, their skills, and their abilities and putting them in a position that they can thrive in, right? And hopefully advance in. And no matter what, when you talk about diversity or inclusion, they also, the benefit is they bring innovation, they bring various perspectives on how to meet goals and how to deliver, just like any other employee would do. So I think that's the benefit. And I think that's what you have to look at when you're thinking about the benefits and the importance of hiring a diverse workforce. So I hope I answered the question.
Thank you very much. Christine?
I'll just add that, you know, the culture of the workforce has changed to be a more empathetic, compassionate workforce. The relationships that have been built as the interns transition from program, and many of those that we've hired is, you know, just kind of priceless. Tolerance. Our staff have certainly been more patient, more tolerant, those, you know, and understanding that everyone has a different learning curve. And that has been of an added value to the culture here. So some of those not as direct benefits, if you will, have been wonderful for our staff and just the organization as a whole.
And Christine, I would add to that another benefit that you mentioned was the transformation of our staff. When we bring an intern in, we make sure they meet every staff, even if it's staff that they're not going to work with directly. They get their own cubicle. They get their name on the cubicle, just like all the other employees. They have their own desk and space. And by the end of their 10 weeks with us, sometimes we get to keep them for an extra 10 weeks, but they are part of the team. They are a part of the team, right along with all the other employees. So, and the employees, again, like was said earlier, their patience, their knowledge, it's just another team member, and they learn how to work together. So
I'll just add to that, you know, when we talk about recruitment and retention, when we started the program and over the 5 years now, I've become more aware of employees who have family members or have friends who have disabilities, and they're so grateful and appreciative and of the organization's commitment to be more inclusive. And we have, you know, it's brought in people that have applied because of that to JSL. So that has been an additional benefit for us here, is that the appreciation our workforce has for what we're trying to do, and that they're sharing that information with their family and friends. And we've had a lot of referrals for people to the Project Search program. And we've had a lot of people refer to JSL to apply for positions who have disabilities that they're in, and it's been a win-win.
Frank, would you like to add?
You know,
Benefited?
everything that's been said is exactly what's happening here. And that's the only other thing I would maybe add to it in terms of what we've kind of benefited or come out of this is that we've had to document processes that we've been doing for 2 generations now that we never had to do before, because we do want to be able to have these people have not just us telling them things, but also giving them some written instructions. And now we use it for everybody, you know, so sometimes you have to make, I won't say it's accommodation, it's just better business practices to start documenting. Because again, we are such a fluid environment. We've grown up since the beginning of semiconductor industry working with IBM. Now we work globally with a lot of different companies that are leading edge, you know, so it's always changing, but we have basic tasks that have to be done or certain types of work instructions. So that's one of the benefits is we've been more we have the, as was said, my staff are more patient, they're more tolerant of mistakes to start. If they can learn from them, it's not a mistake, it's a learning experience. That's what we call it. And then now we're also documenting things that we never really did because it was always in someone who's, you know, who's a master craftsman that knows a lot. It's in their heads, but it's not something that we can just pass on to somebody, sometimes just verbally. So there's been as I mentioned earlier, it's a wonderful cultural change that has happened here. And we're going to double our workforce. And I bet you at least half of these individuals, and I'm not joking, are going to be individuals with disabilities, because they are the quirky people that we always knew we had, but never knew that they had a disability before. It was just, they were hard to manage. So this is our future.
So Frank, one of the things that I really appreciated hearing you say is it makes you do your business better.
Mhm.
And I think, as we look at individuals with and without disabilities, we see lots of different learning styles that are coming to the surface for individuals. And so you figured out that everybody could benefit from you doing this better. And so everyone in your workforce is going to see, a positive result from this. And, it's one of those unintended consequences,
Mhm.
but what a great one to talk about.
Right. And you think of, there's people in the workforce too that may never have disclosed they have a disability. And so, I know in having conversations with different businesses that, there probably are individuals in, manufacturing settings that have a learning disability. They're those hands-on learners, and so they excel in those hands-on industries, but not every employee has disclosed that they have a disability. So, even to kind of piggyback with Martha is just even looking at just the overall, work culture, because yes, it does benefit so many people, whether they have identified as having a disability or, again, we all learn differently. And when we have those, cultures in the workplace, it just really supports all of us. It, benefits that business overall, and the employees stay because they see the loyalty that, that the business, has. And so they are going to retain workers, and, they're not going to lose them, to the business across the street paying 25 cents extra an hour. People are invested with the businesses who are investing in their employees.
I have a quick question from an audience member. It says, is there a list of Rochester area companies who have an active apprenticeship program?
Martha, tell about our RMTA. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I was just gonna say, I'll put the contact information for RTMA, Rochester Technology and Manufacturing Association. They will be able to give you a list of all of not only the jobs that are run by union shops, but those that are run by just individual companies who are running structured training programs and apprenticeships.
Yeah, every second Monday, the 7 manufacturing associations of New York State, we get together, the workforce directors. Martha leads this, and Rochester has one of the best manufacturing associations in the state, and they have a plethora of good manufacturing companies that are innovative and want to hire all types of individuals that can help them do their technical work. And so you have a sweet spot in terms of having an industry that's ready to really work with you. But we have to find these individuals, because again, we know it's all a broad spectrum, and there is a spectrum of individual that's in your agencies or in your families that we would like to talk to further. And you have a great partner out there with RTMA.
And we have like 2 minutes left, and I have a question for you all, and that is, when you first meet somebody, especially if they have a more significant disability, how do you dive deeper into understanding their capability and not, you having high expectations and being able to match them where their skills are at without understanding where they could be skilled at? Does that make sense?
Well, we use this ACT work keys that's been used in a number of states. It's not used in the Northeast, that actually trains them and tests them for their cognitive skills ability to be able to do every different job in the nation. There's a level set that this whole program does, but really it's getting them through a work experience, and that's been really significant with the Access VR helping us do this, which is bringing somebody in just for a few weeks and having them get a sense of whether this is the right environment for them, and also making sure that we can work with them. And what's interesting is that it's not something that you know right off the bat, but it takes a few weeks, and then you can kind of, because we don't want to invest in people that don't want to be manufacturers either. So these work experiences are strategic to getting this whole conversation started with each individual that comes to us.
Thank
And
you.
even, you know, at Access VR, we can assist with, we have hiring incentives too. So we, you know, can reimburse businesses if we're looking at it on the job training or a work tryout. So again, you know, these are some additional conversations, you know, following today that we can have more of.
I just want to thank you all, panel members, audience members. Thank you so much for being with us today to help us celebrate National Disability Awareness Month. It's really fantastic to listen to all your experiences. And I know from the responses that we're getting, they really would like to connect with you further. So audience members, I will reach out to you by email and we can connect you to the folks you want to be connected with. So thank you all. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend and a lovely Friday, and happy Halloween that's coming. So thanks so much and have a nice day.
Thank you.
Enjoy your weekend.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank you.
You.
Bye all.
Bye-bye.